Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to the channel and a brand new video. In this week's video, we will be taking a look at how to make breadboards, but more specifically, how to make breadboards using the Festool Domino. The method that I am using in this video is actually backwards from how everybody else does it in the videos that you may have seen before. Personally, I think this way is a little bit easier, but let me know what you think down in the comments. And with all that said, let's go ahead and get started. So before we get into the details of how the breadboards are attached, it's important to first understand how the tabletop is squared up. So this tabletop you see here is made from 6/4 inch red oak. And the first step is to cut the edge perpendicular, and I'm doing so using my track saw. While breadboards certainly do look cool, they actually serve a purpose, which is to keep the tabletop flat and to keep those boards from bowing in a certain direction across the width of the entire table. The middle portion of this tabletop is made from 8 boards, so I first put the breadboard on the end, and then using a square, I'll mark a line on the breadboard, but also on those inside boards, which is the mark I'll be going off of to actually cut the mortises with the domino. Rather than just plunging straight in to cut the mortise, I'm offsetting the gauge on the top of the domino to extend those mortises a little bit wider. And the mortises will not only be cut on the centerpiece of the table, but also on the breadboard. And on the breadboard, I'm even extending the mortises out a little bit further. In my opinion, the pre-made dominoes that Festool offers are not wide enough to put an elongated hole for wood movement in the middle of the tenon, so I'll be making my own tenons out of this rough cut red oak. It is extremely important to get the thickness of the tenon the same size as the mortise that was cut by the domino, so using a set of digital calipers is a great way to double check yourself and make sure that you're right on point. The mortises that I cut in the tabletop were about 50 millimeters wide, so I want to cut these tenons a little short in case there is any variation in the wood movement between the tenons and the tabletops. Now, since I'm using the same species of wood, there should not be any variation, but it never hurts to be cautious with something like this. So at this point our tenons are looking good, but we run into the problem of trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and to solve that problem we'll grab a round over bit that's about the same size as the mortise that was cut by the domino and quickly round over those edges. Now I really should be using a router table here to do this rather than the palm router, but this did work, and then that tenon would fit right down in the mortise. On the tabletop, I plunged 70 millimeters deep, and on the breadboard, I plunged 50 millimeters deep, giving me a grand total of 120 millimeters, and we will cross-cut these tenons just a bit short at maybe 115 millimeters so that there's room for the glue underneath the tenon. And it is at this point in the video where we will stray away from what everyone else does and do it backwards, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video. So I watched several videos in trying to educate myself on how to do this technique, and the majority of the videos that I saw, the dominoes were always glued into the tabletop first, where after the holes in the breadboard would be used to mark those tenons, the holes were then drilled and elongated with those tenons already attached inside the table. And the problem that I've ran into trying this technique is that I can't drill an elongated slot using a handheld drill in these tenons whatsoever to where that elongated slot will actually perform like it's supposed to. Every time I do this, the drill always ends up elongating the tenon slot in the wrong direction, which completely takes away the functionality of the elongated slot. So what I've done here is to take the remaining portion of the tenon that will be in the breadboard, and using a drill press with a Forstner bit, I've made an elongated slot that can be cleaned up with a chisel or a drill bit here like you see, that will allow the dowels to move in the way that they should whenever they're pinned in. So after the elongated slots are drilled, we'll just glue them in place. And I've found that it's easier to dump some glue out onto something, which is what I'm using this foam block for, and then dip those tenons in the glue rather than trying to force a glue bottle into the tenon where you're not going to get good coverage on the top section of that table. So all of the tenons are placed in those mortises, and one important thing to remember here is to make sure that those tenons are seated all the way back at the end of the mortise, because obviously they should not extend past the depth of the mortises on the breadboard. After that glue has dried and the tenons are in their final resting spot, we'll hold the breadboard underneath, and then using the same Forstner bit we used to cut the slots in those tenons, we'll mark the center of each of those slots on the breadboard, going right down through that elongated slot. To draw bore the breadboard using the dowel pins, we will offset the hole from that mark by maybe a 32nd of an inch in the direction of the outside of the breadboard. So using the drill press, we'll drill every single one of those holes. And again, remember that you want to draw bore these by offsetting the hole from the score a tiny bit in the direction of the outside of the breadboard. So when we put those pins in, it will pull the breadboard closer to the inside of the table, making sure that we have a tight seam where the breadboard joins the tabletop. If this is done correctly, you should be able to see a tiny portion of the outside of the tenon on the outer edge through each hole on the breadboard. The last step of attaching these breadboards to the tabletop is to send a dowel rod all the way through the hole, and placing just a little bit of glue on the top, we will give it one more tap, which will glue the very outer portion of that dowel to the very top of the breadboard, but leave that intersection with the elongated slot free. That way, as the inside boards expand and contract, they are free to do so without causing any internal stress on the inside or the outside of the table, which is one reason that the center of a table could crack over time if the breadboards are not done properly. And with that statement, it is worth mentioning there are several different ways to attach breadboards. This isn't the only way to do it, and a lot of those methods are okay just as long as they do allow for seasonal expansion and contraction and wood movement over time. Flipping a tabletop that weighs approximately 5 billion pounds isn't the most fun part of doing these breadboards, but you will have to flip that tabletop over and cut off the excess dowel from that very last tap we had when we put them in with the glue. The final step, of course, is everyone's absolute favorite part of woodworking, which is to sand everything down nice and smooth. And after these breadboards were sanded down, here is a look at the result. This is by far the nicest seam that I have ever done on a set of breadboards, and I was really happy with how this turned out. The drawboard technique of offsetting the score from that Forstner bit worked exceptionally well, and there was almost no separation whatsoever down the entire length of the breadboard. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you are interested in seeing how I made this tabletop or how I finished this tabletop, be sure to subscribe because I will have additional videos on that upcoming. So again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.